Good morning, all. It is Friday, and for many, that's good news because the work week is over. And it's also the 29th of August, so we're coming to the end of another month. And our reading is from John 19:30. Jesus said, "It is completed." Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Now, there's a number of truths that can be found in this verse. First of all, when he says it's completed, he means it's the entire work of salvation is finished. He has paid the price with his shed blood. Where there are those who claim to be Christian, who claim to be part of Christendom, will say, yes, but that was only for original sin. You have to pay off your own sins, and whatever that means, in purgatory or by works in this life or whatever. But when Jesus said it is finished, he meant it is finished. There was nothing left, and there is nothing left to be done. The price for sin has been paid. We simply need to accept that price. The other truth I think that it's important to note here was the phrase, he gave up his spirit. Yes, men hung him on the cross, the Jewish powers that be, because they didn't want to lose the power that be. The Roman government, because they just wanted peace in Judea and didn't want Rome to come in and interfere with whatever the local Roman officials had going on. The crowds, the paid for rioting bunch, wanted to get paid for rioting. But the reality is, none of them killed him. They put him on the cross, but he gave up his spirit. He gave up his life because that's what he came to do in the first place. He didn't come to bring good teachings, but he gave us good teachings. He didn't come to heal, though he probably emptied out the hospitals. He came to die. The rest was simply announcing the kingdom, announcing that he was the Messiah. But his purposes in coming, and he talks about this to his disciples in the last week before his death, was to carry out the will of the Father, to carry out the plan that goes all the way back to the garden after the fall, planned even before that, that's pictured in the tabernacle, pictured in the temple, is told in the prophecies all through the Old Testament. It's to fulfill what God promised because he loves you and me and didn't want us to be lost. And so, on one hand, as I've said on other occasions, we can argue that we all killed Christ because he died for our sins. But on the other way of looking at it is, he allowed himself to be put to death, and he gave up his own spirit. So he died when the work was completed and he was ready to go home to be with the Father. So just keep that in mind, because it's just one more statement of how amazing God is, how wonderful are his works, how blessed we are, because every believer is a miracle of God's love, God's grace, and God's mercy. So have a miraculous day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.